Everything else up till now has been correctly put. From the pig to everything from humanity has been a tool. We had the power, we had the intelligence to use it. It just sat there if we didn't use it. This is the first time where the tool actually can do stuff without us having to, and we can't even tell it. Sorry, I'm like super passionate about this because I spend a lot of time in it, and I don't want to be that guy, like, you know, the vegan. I'm super aware. They are the vegan, short-lived. So I'm very conscious. But the point is that this is the first time where it doesn't need you. The tool doesn't need you to be the tool. The tool will actually have enough power to commandeer other tools. It's game changing.
In South Africa, unemployment is a huge issue. How do we make sure that AI is not replacing bodies in the kitchen?
To a certain extent, we've been going through this for tens of years. Depending on which kitchen you go to, and again, it's horses for courses, you can go into a kitchen and open up a box of hollandaise sauce. That is a chef not taking egg yolks, lemon juice, clarify. It's happening already, right? So again, it's horses for courses. You will get restaurants that will use AI and they will use it to automate basic tasks, and you're going to lose people at the bottom. And then you'll get other restaurants where personality is what it's about. It depends on the kitchen, right? There will always be scratch kitchens, and there will be always kitchens who will sell high volume at a low price. It just depends where you are. But if you're really good, you can sell high volume at a high price. And if you can get that right, that's disruptive innovation, and that's where AI comes in.
As you mentioned before, it's not necessarily about if we are integrating this, it's happening, and it's happening very quickly. There is a report saying that by 2026, so next year, 40%, there'll be a 40% increase in integration into the culinary world. I think the culinary sector is one of the places that a huge amount of innovation is going to happen based on these new technologies. And so it's going to happen across the value chain. It's going to happen on farms with AI drones and sensoring and monitoring and being able to pick up pests earlier than the human eye can do so. It's going to improve processing and manufacturing aspects of the value chain and enhance food safety, etc. It's going to happen all the way through. I mean, not to scare anyone, but I think it's important to know where things are at. But they've already created in San Francisco an AI automated chef, a chef that is now trained at a Michelin star level who is being able to produce food. I think that's where we know we... I think I can agree that's where we don't really want to go, in terms of we don't want to be removing us from the value chain. We want to be making ourselves stronger based on the tools. And so if you look at South Africa, I mean, we waste 1/3 of all food that we grow and distribute. So that's where it gets interesting. Instead of wanting to kind of just implement it throughout the value chain because it's happening in the global north, it's more about, okay, what are the specific problems that we are facing, and how do we use those tools to create solutions that are context specific? Because there's also, I think, a positive in things happening. We get the trickle-down effect. Things are implemented in the global north, and it takes a bit longer for it to happen further south. And so we can learn from the solutions that are being implemented and bring them into our context. Just one more, there's an example of a company where they've created an AI tool where essentially it's a camera that sits over the food waste, organic waste in restaurants or hotel chains, and that camera captures everything that goes in, can measure the caloric waste, the environmental impact, and then that obviously gets filtered back to the chefs in environments where there's more buffet style food, and that can generate more waste, and so they can then align their menus to reduce certain aspects. So that is where I find it super interesting, not necessarily removing the human element.
Our business is service to people. A hotel's business is a service business. The day a computer can service me, I mean, that sounds weird to say. like you're saying, like everything's got a cycle, like Miles said. 10 years ago, it was cool to make gels and foams and flying pillows out of food. It was called molecular gastronomy. And you could buy an anti-griddle, which is like a grill that freezes things at minus 196 degrees. You could buy centrifuges, R500,000 to make chocolate into water. Why? But if you know condensation and you know how to apply it, you can do it with a pot and a lid and an ice bucket, right? That you can't replace that. So what happens with molecular gastronomy? It became so crazy, avant-garde. You know, you go to a restaurant where you eat paper, and like that's the most delicious paper ever. I'm sure it was cool, right? But at a point in time, you go home, you're like, hey, can we please have a steak? And I know how you like your steak. You like it medium rare, you know, the fat, crispy. But no matter what happens in time and in technology, like imagine now you're having a dinner party for your friends. And you're like, yo, you now eat it like, hey, my friend, this paper is yours. And you spray the paper with jollof sauce. Now you're like, now you sit at your house in your AI bed, you're like, you know, everything becomes cute. You see that movie, iRobot? He was the only human left. He's like, the only robot that liked him was like, yo, I've got a soul for him. So then when robots get souls, then you'll be fine. I don't want to talk about how you made your money. I know, I read the article. I read that thing, like what you sold that thing for, that look him up. Like tech guys build things to sell again. I'm like, when a tech guy in Silicon Valley, they don't go there to like, I'm gonna be here for 50 years. I'm gonna create an AI car, sell it to Tesla for $100 million. Then I'm gonna chill with my AI yacht. But guess what? I'll be lonely. There's a saying, do you wanna cry in a Ferrari or be happy in a Benz? Oh, that's AI girlfriend, that's what I'm saying. Because now, we live in a world where guys can't talk to girls anymore. Because now it's like, hey, hi, listen, where are you from? Can you send me your specs? Prompt, I want this, sharp, cool. Let's meet next week. No. Hi, how are you? So that's the problem with the world. We always come back to humanity. Because as much as a tech guy makes so much money, a guy like me needs to also make money from saying, hi, Mr. Miles, welcome to Edge. Listen, here's your waiter. And the waiter will be like, I'm gonna get a nice tip from this guy because he looks like he's got money. And then you're going to interact with this waiter. And then after you leave, you didn't eat paper, but you had an experience. You don't go to a hotel, you don't go to the Mount Nelson because, but when it's pink. No, you go there because I'm gonna have 25 different cakes for the high tea that a daycare team makes. They hate it, but they do it because your grandmother went to do the high tea with her daughter, with your mom, and then you take your daughter to the high tea because it's an experience. It changes every time. The day an AI can make a cucumber sandwich delicious, I'll buy it.
Also with nutrition, the hyper personalization of diets, that's going to become a very interesting space to be a part of. So maybe, you know, I think things like whether people eat meat or they don't, or they've got illnesses, that's kind of going to become quite an easy thing to navigate. Whereas, like we said, for someone with celiac, you can barely eat outside your house because there's so many things that you have to be aware of. And then also food safety, it's going to have a huge impact on being able to diminish the impacts, I guess, in the processing and distribution areas. You know, there's optimization of routes, and I think we also have large problems in our cold chain. So it's with those kind of things, I think it's going to create some very, very positive results.
But can I double click on that?
Yes, you can.
There's no news there, right? Like, we've been wasting 30% of food for a while now. It's affecting the environment, we all know this. But why isn't it changing? It doesn't need AI, we know this.
Yeah.
Like, and my rationale is, to my earlier point, progress doesn't necessarily always mean, even the intention might to be better, but invariably it actually almost directly or unintended consequence, it always leads to worse.
Yeah.
We create more stuff.
Yeah.
All of a sudden we got 17 milks.
Yeah.
Like, who's milking those legumes all of a sudden? Like, why do we do 17 milks, right? And my point is, it's like, the more time you give people, the more they find reason to fill it with more stuff, right? And I'm not convinced, just basing it on historical progress of humans, we will fill it up with other stuff, right? And I think that's what my fundamental worry is. But now the biggest part of that worry is that we're going to be doing it exponentially. Yeah. Because before it was hard to do all that stuff. Now it isn't. It really isn't.
Well, exactly. It's like the same. It's so, okay, we're going to, I mean, this is also all the jargon. This is like we're going to optimize and we're going to streamline and we're going to automate. And you kind of like, okay, but the system as it is doesn't work. So if we're just going to automate that, it's going to make fast food chains stronger. It's going to make them faster. It's going to reduce nutrition density in the food that we're eating. It's going to, so it can essentially just perpetuate the system that already exists. And we don't have a lot of evidence to show that innovation is shifting that. It's as small as there's less evidence of that change happening. But then that's, I guess, comes back to why the Food Indaba was created in the first place, which is the food system as it is devastating for a lot of people in the world and for the environment. And just because we've got a new, really, hyped up trend, which is AI, which is not going away but still a trend, what is that actually going to do? Are the people that are hungry now going to get the food that's all of a sudden going to be more available? And like you say, we will optimize and improve efficiency, and then we'll have 30% more food than we already have that's already being thrown away. Yeah, it's a big philosophical debate. Yeah.
When you're poor, food is a chore. It's hard work. You gotta get fire, you gotta cook, you gotta boil the water, you gotta go get the water. It's a chore to make food when you're poor, right? But when you're middle income, I was in New York, people stand in a queue around the block to get a gelato ice cream. I'm like you're purposely standing in a queue to have, so what I think it will do, God willing, if everything goes according to plan, is that I'm hoping it removes the stuff that is choresome, and by so doing, maybe increases people's wealth and therefore time, that they can go have better experiences when it comes to food or do the things that make us human. I'm hoping that it does really create space for us to do that. But if you look at technology historically, it's always got that North Star to say we're going to make people better and healthier and all these things. But when you look back, almost always it's never the case. In fact, we're working harder, longer, we are more productive, but we are unhappier. We are just constantly looking at black mirrors like your screen. I know you said you must make this positive again. Okay. I don't see it.
So look, a lot of the large equipment manufacturers are going to jump in on the bandwagon with AI, and I was reflecting, sort of driving here, oven manufacturers, your rationales and your gastronomes, over the years they've just gotten better and better and better. Once we start integrating AI into actual cooking systems, it's going to take a lot of the guesswork away. Yes, there might be a concern about the actual skill of the chef, but it's also going to reduce wastage, right? There's going to be a lot taken away that we would normally throw away because your cooking techniques are just going to get a lot more simpler, a lot more effective. As a chef, you will still need to know what a good product is. You will still need to know the basics. It will not take away from that, but it will streamline a lot of the operations, a lot of the ordering, a lot of the wastage, get everything onto track. I see a lot more automation in that space in terms of ordering, cooking, serving, and then have a human interaction. And it's going to allow people more time to do what we should be doing. chefs should be experimenting, and get an AI recipe, get it out, but cook it, taste it, adjust it, make suggestions, re-upload it. I mean, right in the beginning we were talking about certain flavor profiles. You will only balance those out by actually trying them. So it's not going to take away from that at all, but it will create new possibilities.
There's a hospital in Germany that doesn't have a single chef. It's got a person who goes with a USB and they just go tuk, 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 tuk. And then there's a person with a trolley that's packed, like breakfast, tomato, eggs, bacon, whatever they eat in hospitals, and they put that in the oven and then it starts. And it's perfect. But I mean, it's a hospital, right? And how much is that oven for a restaurant order? I can't be paying 800,000 rand for an oven with a USB. And when it breaks, hello Germany, please. No. So I think there are positive tools out of it, like for like, especially like in the medical space, because when you deal with like dietaries, when someone is a celiac, like sometimes you're like I can't even, So in that space, yes. Like how do I, like it's a big private chef, you've got a very sickly customer, but now you have to use AI and be like, okay, that for me is a safe space because I'm not as clever as that, but I'm like, I don't want to be doing baobab shakes and then So I think it's important that there are practical things like production, right? Like Amazon and everything. But there's ways to make life easier, but then that also takes, so I think there's good spaces where AI can help, like farming, the pests, like, okay, it's not food, but like the rhino poaching, AI could get the hit. So there's always positive things, right? But that's for a greater good, so that's fine, but not for the cost.
I've worked as a private chef for many years, and I've also spent, a year of my life at nutrition school and a year understanding sustainability and all of these things. But to have these tools where we can go, maybe we can express to our clients that, what preferences do they have, if they have, specific illnesses or allergies, we can be a lot more creative with that information, whereas in the past it could be quite a daunting task going, okay, now I'm not allowed using gluten, I can't have this, they like food from a different country, how do I, so you can actually just be quite practical and say, this is the information I've been given, help me generate some interesting ideas, and then we work with, the dishes that we know and developing things in a new way. And even I think going back to food waste is a lot of time with private chef clients, they want everything and they don't want to eat everything. They want it to feel abundant, but they don't actually need everything, which is a frustrating element of the job. So then you can go, okay, maybe there'll be a point where you can do a scan and say, this is the food that we have left over, what can I turn into dishes for tomorrow morning that my client won't recognize? So, because they don't want to be, they don't want to be eating their waste. But
So we built a tool that allows people, our teams and staff, to walk around the shop, and it pulls in the data from all the health and safety, from R638 and all these things, and the AI just looks at the shelves. This is opened, cooked food. It shouldn't be sitting on this shelf. It should be above the ones that is closed. Like, it just takes all the rules and it applies them to the vision or from what it's seen. And it's doing so well that UNDP approached us and said, you do know there's like 23 kids that have died in South Africa from communicable or foodborne diseases, right? And it's because the spaza shops, you can't keep sending health inspectors, we don't have the resources. So now everybody's got a phone. So we're just now deploying this tool to 20,000 spazas, where the spaza owner themselves can just walk around the shop and it will tell them, if you want to see the demo after, I'll show you. It's super cool, if I say so myself. It's really, really cool. And the thing is, you could do it for your own business, right? So especially because the bigger the more your business becomes, like your hiring managers, but it's so hard to scale because no one is as methodical or as passionate or cares about the detail as much as you do. So it sends me reports every night. You can't operate the store until you've gone through the magic wand thing, and then That's one aspect, but then it also allows like a logical next step. So it pulls up the report like this is unhealthy or not meets the health and safety, but this is what you need to do about it. So now you can do the training on the app itself. So yeah.
Research. I mean, I do work for a university and we do a phenomenal amount of research. There is a drive by the South African government for more and more and more research. Universities are funded via research, so the more we publish, the more we get funded. So it's really being pushed quite hard. So I'm supervising 2 master's students. Both of these theses are in the food space. So as we progress along, right, we'll be able to develop more and more research. We'll find gaps in the literature. It is an ongoing process. So again, you can approach a university if there's an area of research that you think needs studying. Approach a university, make a suggestion. When I did my master's, there was actually a list that was published by external stakeholders saying, do a dissertation on this, choose one, research it, off you go. But from academia, a lot of the answers will come from there. When those articles or those dissertations are made into journal articles, those are uploaded to Scopus or whatever the case is, Google Scholar, AI picks up from that and then uses it as part of its answer. So it is an ongoing process.
So actually, we had an idea back in the day to create an encyclopedia, the African Culinary Library. So the idea came up in COVID, like, what are we doing? Let's just create a tool, like a book, like there's a book that chefs buy when they get money, La Ruse Gastronomique, which is a French Bible of cooking. Every chef that knows anything has one, but there's no African version of it. So for me to do, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to be like. I'm how old am I? 44. Like I want to take a break and actually physically go there, sit with the auntie, be like, okay, termites, what are we doing? Why? And then AI can help compound this thing. So I want to, you have to physically go and do it. You can't be like, okay, how do they eat termites in Ghana? Oh, okay, again. So the idea is to actually physically document the thing, like Miles said, give everyone a camera phone, please. First, iPhone 18. So I'll do it for you. I want to go around and be like, and spend 4 or 5 years and get funding because again, I'm not doing it for free. I'm doing it to, Jay-Z always said, Rock Nation was a blueprint for future billionaires, like Rihanna. So African Culinary Library is a blueprint for the next black chef, the next African chef. Not just a chef, an activist, a caterer, a guy that before you was a big dreamer. That's how I met this guy. So I want everyone to understand, when they say special, there must be a context. Because if you say in the roots, if you say Blanquette, it gives you 1, 2, 3 from the south of France, this. Beautiful. Now you know something. But if you say special, it doesn't know. So I want to create an encyclopedia. It might take me 10 years, 15 years, it's fine.
I guess the best way I can explain it is, when you are taught to meditate, for example, you can be taught the whole philosophy behind it, what it does to your mind, how it will make you feel, etc., and you can intellectualize that, or you can sit and close your eyes and see what it actually does through practice. And I guess that's the difference. Like, this can enhance maybe the creativity of chefs, but it can't teach them the fundamentals of what it means to be in a kitchen to try to fail, as Vusi said. It's a superficial learning that we have to integrate, and that's when I think it'll show its true power.
You can't teach a person to be creative. I know very amazing chefs that are not creative, but say mashed potato, no question. You can't teach creativity. So AI is not going to help you with that. They give you a creative solution, but you're a creative person. I had chefs in 3 categories. I needed a workforce. Someone would just be like, sure, done, let's go. Then I don't hire creatives because then I don't have a job. Then I hire a person in between who wants to be creative, but is also quite stable and just being, I can make a good beef sauce. Chef will figure out the rest. So that you can't teach creativity. And I also think too many creative people in the world are crazy. because we see it in fashion. We live in a world where, I don't want to call them 2000s, but the younger generation, they're trying to be so creative in how they dress. They now all look the same. If you walk through in first birthday, you're like, oh, I'm like, we are old. Because I'm dressed like this in chinos and a black sweater, it's fine. So you can't teach creativity and you can't force it. It's okay to not be creative. That's it.
So I just want to say, you can't teach creativity to humans, but you can teach it to AI. And that's the thing that, again, as a recovering tech bro, I've seen technology. This is the first time I'm actually fearful. Honestly, and I'm not saying to be like over dramatic. This is the worst AI is ever going to be. But at the scale it's learning, at the speed it's learning, because you're just throwing just GPUs at this thing. So sure, by now, like today's time, I mean, I remember like a year ago, people said, oh, look at the spaghetti, the Will Smith thing, look how dodgy it is. It was called Uncanny Valley. Look at it now. Look at what, like, just what, like, 7-line prompt, what videos you can get from AI. Now, is that regurgitation or is that creativity? I think the jury's out because, I mean, Picasso, like, you know, great creative steel, you know, like, so how do you work that out? How do you say, Picasso stole African art, let's be honest, it is what it is, but now he's deemed one of the most creative artists of our time. But, so, I think in 18 months, 24 months time, when we have a version 2 of this, we can be the judges of this exact question.
At what stage in the trajectory of training chefs is it a good idea to bring in AI?
I'd say right in the very beginning. Look, we know that students are going to use AI. That's common course. They are absolutely going to use it. So if you catch them right in the beginning, you can then guide their experience rather than letting them develop poor habits along the way. If you catch them at the beginning, let them use AI, use it ethically, tell them how to use it and how not to use it. You know, you're going to develop those ethics right in the beginning. If you wait until second, third, fourth year, you're going to have a few challenges. Right in the beginning, in fact, we make it part of our orientation. First year orientation, there you are, guys. AI is out there. This is what to do. This is what not to do. Don't get caught, right? Use it, but don't get caught plagiarizing. And there are really good ways to use it. We encourage it because it's not going away. Let's teach people how to use it correctly. There are very often courses related to AI out there that teach you how to use different tools. I would recommend using one of those. I'm a fan of instant learning. I really am. There's a lot out there that will teach you about different kinds of AI. So if you really want to start using AI properly, explore away from ChatGPT and the rest of these things and start looking at other AI tools that you may not know even exist. And once you start learning that, you can start leveraging. And the second thing we've spoken about already is learn those prompts. There are very commercial, and again, I'm not a fan of commercial, services out there that help you develop your prompts. One is called Black Magic. Look at that and develop your prompts properly. But without those prompts, you're going nowhere quickly. I don't think a lot of people truly understand how to prompt. And if you can learn how to prompt correctly, AI is, the world is your best. If not, you're not going to get great results.
So Cole, you're saying when I say, please professionalize this email, is that a good prompt to look at?
Well, you can start by removing the word please because it's costing us a lot of money and energy.
I was trying to be polite.
It's actually this research that Africans use the word please more than anybody else when they're prompting, and it's, I think, 0.0005 cents per, like, please. So please stop.
I'm already learning that's like a lifetime of being told to say please and thank you.
The upside when the machines come for us, that'd be very nice. Yeah. So I think for me, as a recovering tech bro, I used to be at Microsoft for a decade, and we played with this stuff. It's so amazing to see some of it come to fruition in the way it is. One of the things that I use AI a lot, or what I found is a massive distinction. When I was in tech, I was in a generation where we were knowledge creating, so we had knowledge workers, so people would search and apply their minds to that knowledge. So there was access to knowledge, that's what the internet is. The difference is with AI, it's intelligence. So now with knowledge, I still needed to be trained, I still needed to have a skill and had to go to university and to be able to apply the knowledge. With intelligence, I no longer need that, because that's what AI does, right? I give it a complex problem. Let me give you a quick example. So I go to my doctor every year for a health check. She charges me 1,000 rands to fill out the Lancet form for my labs. Then I will pay 2 grand for the labs, and then she charges me another 1,000 rands to read the labs, right? I'm like 4 grand out for. Whereas now what I do is I just go to Lancet and they have an app that downloads my results, and then I put those in ChatGPT and it tells me the market. But that's still knowledge. The intelligent part is the cool part, where I now say I give it my grocery list and I say this is the stuff I typically buy. What is the ones in this list that have an implication on my bloods? So now you can quickly see why that is important, right? Especially in relation to food.
We got invited to do a burger collab with a wine maker. But I was like, I'm not doing an AI burger. But I guess a challenge to my team, like develop the burgers, use our pantry, but then I need you to cost it. It's beautiful to talk about restaurants, it's beautiful to talk about food, it's beautiful to talk about chefs and all this ingredients, but it's a business. I must pay my crazy landlord, I must pay my staff, I must pay the supplier. So it's very nice to use this tool in a sense where I can just say, cost this burger for me at a 30% food cost, 10% wastage, blah, 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 blah. My rent is for this stand for that day, 10,000 rand. I need to make X amount of money. But I did that exercise to see, okay, so I must sell a burger, 8 pound prices, what's this burger? The smash burger. The tiniest 40 grams of meat for 120 rand. We actually went to a restaurant and I was looking at the setup, I'm like, okay, 120, this much meat, 4 staff members. How many burgers must they sell? So I asked those questions, like, okay, ChatGPT, how many burgers do I have to sell 120 rand to pay 100,000 rand in Cape Town? Yeah, a lot. So now I think that's how to, so for me, I don't have time to cost. I'm a dreamer, I'm a weirdo. I'd rather read about the connections of ingredients than I'd rather do that than ChatGPT. I'm like, this is my problem. Red Cape Town, it's winter. The traffic has gone down by 40 to 50%. I need to pay crazy landlord cinema. What must happen? So I ask questions that I need practical answers to. I'm going on vacation. Okay, it's quiet in Cape Town. There's no money in the restaurant. How much do I have to make to sell burgers? So that's what I use ChatGPT for.
The one I'm a big fan of is a tool called Infronodus. What it does is it goes to Google or whatever. You can put in either a spreadsheet of ingredients or recipes or in menus, or you can go and say, go into Google's search words and find out what most people are searching for. So like that will give you trends, like what's topical, what are other chefs using, methods and stuff. And then it will do a very amazing visual like infographic, like zooms in and zooms out, and you can see all the words. And then you can say, hide the ones that are most popular, give me the layers, the stuff in between, the peripheral stuff. And then that's where you start digging in, and all of a sudden you're just coming up with things that are left field. Other people in Peru or wherever have been doing it, and then see how, and then you take that and put it into like a, whether it's I'll use the word ChatGPT, but I don't actually mean that generative. So you put it in any other generative AI, and then what it will do is you'll say,
But instead of using these South American ingredients, use these African ingredients and see if this works. Which is essentially what Vusi was saying, reverse engineering some menu design. So I think that would be what I recommend.
We actually say to the students, you can use these things, but you have to disclose them. So I ask students for their prompts. So in their bibliography, use AI, but there's the prompts. Tell me what you asked it. And then I can see those prompts, I can see how the students have used it. The challenge comes in is when people copy and paste. And then you're marking an assessment or an assignment and you see, certainly I can help you. Really? So yeah, we encourage students to develop these tools, and we try to get them to take things away from the course that they can use practically. So it's less theoretical, it's more practical. Something such as teaching students, which I'm going to be doing this afternoon, how to cost food items on an Excel spreadsheet rather than on a piece of paper. Develop the formulas. You can use AI to help you develop the formulas, but you still have to develop the spreadsheet yourself. I want to see everything in it. I want to look at everything. So in our outcomes and the way we teach, we can encourage students to use AI. So it has to be from the school. And from junior school, my son is 5 years old, and from next year he has to have an iPad. And that's how it's going to start.
You see it on so many other minority subjects like left-handed people. You try and get an image out of AI for a left-handed person, good luck with that, right? Or get an AI to create you an image of quarter past 9. Can't do it, right? Because almost all the clocks or time that is put as images on Pinterest and all of that is always, the time is always at 10 past 10 or something, because it just visually looks better. But it's learning on that. So it's going to learn on what it learns on, and therefore it's going to give you output. So one of the things we need to do, especially in food and in culture, we really need to give young people digital cameras and let them go out and document as much stuff as possible. Because if we don't do that, it's not even, it's like, at some point it's on us. I don't know how else to put that, right? Because we can blame the system, the history and all of that, all true, but this is one opportunity that we can actually influence, because it doesn't care. It will make the decisions based on the data it has.
So from a chef and a restaurant owner, so I'm putting into ChatGPT, where should I eat dinner in Cape Town tonight? And it obviously brings back results. How can a restaurant owner make sure that they part of those results?
Sure, that's actually one of the cool things, that it is actually influencing that. And it turns out Africa, particularly South Africa, we're very good with young people with digital media and TikTok. We're winning awards, like, dance crazes, like we're influencing music. So we're getting wins. Trust me, it's going to change. The wins are definitely there. So for example, on TikTok, when I land in a foreign country, I put it on TikTok. I don't search on Google. I go, what is good to eat here? And then boom, it shows me. And then I take that information. I say, like, it will give me 50 things that are super cool. But I'm like one person and I'm limited time. Then I take that information. Then I put that in ChatGPT and say, create an itinerary for me based on where I am, where I'm likely to have lunch. And it's raining today, so give me places that I can do it inside. And then it creates an itinerary that I then put in my Waze app or Google Maps, and then that's how I find new things and new cuisines.
These tools are essentially as smart as a PhD student in any field that we need assistance with. So we've got a PhD student in any topic at our fingertips, and that is a remarkable place to be. And it's not I'm not looking at it to take away from my work, but more just to enhance my skills and what I do.
When you look at what a restaurant sells, the volumes of what it sells, when it sells, so on and so forth, pretty soon you're going to get a rich data set. That data set is going to enable the chefs to prepare at a certain time, at a certain volume, to order at a certain time. I think the early adopters of this will be at McDonald's and those kinds of places. Pretty soon, by looking at sales data, they will automate a lot of their processes. we know that they prepare food before it's served. Okay? So you go to McDonald's drive-thru, you get your burger in a minute because it's already made. They start pre-making things. That process is going to be driven by AI. Time of the day of the week, is it near payday? It's going to pick up on all of these different trends, and all of a sudden, it's going to start making burgers automatically, and it's going to learn from the experience as well. Another thing we haven't explored in South Africa or globally is dynamic pricing for food and beverage outlets. We see it in hotels. Your room rate is more expensive at a certain time of the year, it's cheaper another time. One of the challenges that kitchens struggle with is variable demand. It's busy at a certain time, it's quiet at another time. How do you work around this? So introduce variable pricing on menus based upon AI demand, and you can start shifting that demand. It still needs to find traction with the public. It's very controversial in the sense of taking deposits for restaurant bookings. Not everybody has gotten to accept that. It's now a part of life. This will also become a life. I see variable pricing for restaurants becoming a thing in the future.